Welcome back to the Big Sunday Show. Tomorrow, leftist activists are planning what a group calls a, quote, blockade of the streets around the Supreme Court, which is expected to hand down several opinions. One of those opinions could be on the case that may overturn Roe v. Wade. There are serious concerns about what the public response will be, and a lot of attention now is on what Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said in 2020 regarding a separate abortion rights case.
I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price.
So he later apologized, but a fellow Democratic senator is refusing to condemn Schumer's rhetoric, even after authorities arrested a man who told police he planned to kill Justice Kavanaugh.
What Senator Schumer was saying was that he was upset, he was alarmed, he was concerned at the prospect that justices would reverse decades of a well-established fundamental constitutional right in our country. What he did not say was, let's go attack them.
So, Jimmy, I want to read what else Senator Schumer said in that speech. He also said, quote, "You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions." That was surrounding a Louisiana case. What Senator Coons, again, and we just heard him, but I want to repeat it because he said what he did not say was, quote, "let's go attack them." Is that a distinction without a difference?
Oh, hand him a gold medal for verbal gymnastics right there. Because understand what we're discussing right now. The big Democratic claim on Capitol Hill this week is that rhetoric on the right has inspired violence at the Capitol. Okay, if you're telling me Donald Trump saying go down there, peacefully protest, let your voices be heard is grounds for incitement, then Chuck Schumer saying you won't know what hit you, I should get him impeached in the Senate immediately. That's absurd. And this undermines all their credibility when it comes to political violence. Because, again, they're only against this type of rhetoric if they think it's coming from the right. And that's the absurdity of our times right now. He flat out said, you've unleashed a whirlwind, you're going to pay, you won't know what hit you. In what world is that excusable? I mean, give me a break.
And Laura, the Senate, again, unanimously approved a measure to help better protect the Supreme Court justices, and it is being held out by Democrats in the House. Take a listen to Nancy Pelosi, followed by Representative Jim Jordan.
You said the justices are protected, but there was an attempt on Justice Kavanaugh's life.
It's protected. The justices are protected. This issue is not about the justice. It's about staff and the rest. Nobody is in danger over the weekend because of our not having a bill.
Laura, now we have Representative Jim Jordan. Take a listen.
Their effort to intimidate the United States Supreme Court is so intense that they won't even pass this legislation that passed the Senate unanimously. Every Democrat supported that legislation, and they won't bring it up in light of the fact now that we had an assassination attempt on the sitting justice, a sitting justice of the United States Supreme Court.
Laura, really calling her out there.
Yeah, and rightly so. I believe the House has had this for somewhere around 30 days now that they've been able to act on this, and they haven't. And for Nancy Pelosi to suggest that over the weekend everybody's going to be safe, the Supreme Court justices are safe, how do you know that, Nancy? You have no idea. In fact, there was an assassination attempt, as we've detailed time and time again, against a sitting Supreme Court justice. And quite frankly, it has not gotten the coverage that it deserves. We talked about this yesterday, but if this had been a left-leaning Supreme Court justice, we all know there would be a huge difference in coverage. We all know that Nancy Pelosi and the House probably would have acted sooner on things, and they certainly would have taken action after the assassination attempt, at least. But it's really crazy that this is where we are in America, that you have an elected official like Chuck Schumer able to say the things he said, to Jimmy's point, with absolutely no repercussions, when you have Nancy Pelosi suggesting that the House not taking any action, that over the weekend everybody's going to be fine. She doesn't know that, and that's the problem, is the double standard is so glaring, and unfortunately it's dangerous and people could get hurt. Thank goodness nothing came of the attempt on Kavanaugh's life, but you never know what could happen. Unfortunately, a lot of people are upset right now on both sides of the aisle, and you never know what could happen. Every precaution should be taken.
And Guy, I mean, it really is striking to hear that statement, isn't it, considering the decision could very well come down tomorrow.
That's right. And imagine what would happen or could happen once that decision, in fact, is confirmed. We kind of know what's going to happen, we think, based on the leak. But once it's official, you'll get another round of just wild, over-the-top rhetoric. And I think that if the left is going to use the standards that they always try to use against the right, this would be or could be tantamount to incitement. That's their standard here. And I just want to make one more point, piggybacking off of something that Laura said about the news coverage of this. Here we have a guy angry at the jurisprudence of Justice Kavanaugh. He traveled across the country. He had an arsenal of weapons, a gun, a tactical knife, pepper spray, zip ties, duct tape, really scary stuff. He had this justice's home address, and he went there because he found it on the internet, because Kavanaugh and others have been doxxed by left-wing activists. The White House has still not condemned that, by the way. So he shows up. He's now charged with attempted murder of a Supreme Court justice. The president has not said one word about this. And the press, we talked about the New York Times putting on what, A20 this week on the 20th page of the newspaper in the New York Times. This morning on the vaunted Sunday morning political shows, very DC-centric, all about politics, sort of these flagship programs, Fox News Sunday covered the assassination attempt. None of the others even mentioned it. ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, not a mention of this on that program. I mean, that's sort of like in irredeemable territory, I would say, when it comes to the media. The bias doesn't quite cover it, honestly.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.